This video is about how to build roofs, and so the first thing that I will do is put some walls in, and the walls are set at 8 feet. I don't want them 4 feet wide, I want them 4 inches wide, and so I will click OK, and we're going to simply build a roof on a building, and let's go ahead and make the building 60 feet in this direction and 24 feet, which is pretty common for a building. And I'll go ahead and hover over this corner, get my intuition line until it snaps to 90, and then go ahead and close it. So let's say that that's the perimeter of our building, and I'll go ahead and tap F3, and you can see kind of a boring looking house, but it will illustrate the point in terms of what it is that we want to do with the roof. Now, the first thing that we want to do with the roofing tool is to pick out what type of roof it is. And so if we're going to do a hip roof, we could pick the hip roof. If we wanted to put a round roof over something, we'd use this one, and this one would be a flat roof, and so then a gable roof would be this particular style. So first thing, let's go ahead and just use the hip roof tool, and that's a really easy one to do. You simply hover over the corner and you outline the exterior of the roof that you want to cover, and so here we'll close it. Then it will ask a couple of questions. First of all, what is the pitch? And we can set the pitch maybe at a 6/12 pitch, or 6 foot in 12 foot. And we can set an overhang. This would be a 16-inch overhang, and that is fine. So we'll click OK. And so I'll tap F3 to see what that looks like. And the roof looks as if it's working pretty nicely. And so that's a really easy tool to use. I will go back to F3 or F2 for the two-dimensional view and Control Z that roof so that it's gone. That one's actually pretty easy. One of them, though, that is really important to use here is the gable roof. But to use a gable roof, what we need to do is to outline the perimeter of this roof, and you'll understand in just a moment, so bear with me. What I'm going to do is to type in a 16-inch overhang, and then I will come in this direction 16 inches. And these are going to be the lines that I'm going to use to help guide me. So 16 inches here and 16 inches in this direction. And so then again, I will need 16 inches in this direction, 16. And I think that I've got everything correctly there. So at this point, what I need to do then is to go ahead with the perimeter of this building. And so that's the outside of the gable over here. And then I can go ahead and, oops, let me go ahead. I can delete then these points right here. I can delete this one, and once again, you'll understand this in a moment. I could get rid of this, and this one I can delete, and that one I can delete. Then I'll pick up my line tool once again and draw this edge and that edge, and then at this point I can go ahead and get rid of these points again, and I can put in the proper perimeter. So right now we have a 16-inch overhang. And so now we need to design the ridge board. Well, the ridge board, if I hover over this location, you can see the hash mark right there. So I can click on that to place, and then I can pull a ridge across in this direction. So this doesn't actually exist. The magenta line that you're looking at is simply the perimeter line of the edge of the roof. And so that's going to be helpful as we go ahead and use this tool next. So I do have the geometry method, which is a gable roof. And the first thing that it wants to know, if you look down here in the lower left-hand corner, it says enter the first node of the roof pivot line. So this roof section is going to pivot from the gable, not the gable, but the roof edge, this roof edge up. and it says, what is the direction of the roof slope? Well, it's toward the ridge, and so I'm going to put the eye toward the ridge, and then we're going to take a look at this in 3D, or it wants us to trace the roof next. Excuse me. So I'm going to trace this roof section. Okay, so now we have that roof section. I will look at that in 3D now, and I will rotate this, and you can see then what we have done. We've put a 10-12 pitch, and we have hinged it on this side of the wall and put the ridge up on this side. And so I'm going to go back to the F2 function, and we'll do this side of the roof plane. This is the hinge. We want it to look toward the ridge, and now we must trace the actual roof panel. And so now it should be done. I'll tap F3. Okay, so there is that section of it. Now, this particular roof, if we look at this section, this particular section of the roof is set at 9 feet, and that's not correct. If you look at this section right here, we need to actually drop that roof down so that it sets on the walls. And so once again, if I pick up this tool and select this roof section, I can set the elevation of that roof section at 8 feet, and it drops it down. A couple different ways that this could be done. I'll escape this again. I'll pick this roof section. The nodes actually allow you quite a little bit of functionality in terms of tweaking the roof. So if we change not the roof slant, but the roof elevation, now we're going to be able to hover and zoom in and pop it right to that point. Now, as you can see, it's not exactly right. And I'll pick the point here and run it right up to where it belongs, and now it's perfect. Okay, so here we have the roof sections, but we don't have the gable filled in. So what we need to do is to take this roof section, go to wall selection settings, reset the wall elevation so that it's maybe 30 feet tall so that it fills in the entire gable. And so now we have it, but it's overshot through our roof section, and so what we need to do now is to trim it to roof. And so what we need to do is to trim the top of the roof and click trim, and so now we have filled that in. And so now we can do exactly the same thing again. We can set this up to maybe 10 feet here, and it will shoot through the roof section, and then we can trim to roof and trim. And so now when we look at it, we can see that there are no holes in it. Over here we still have a gap right in this section, so we can increase the roof elevation, say to 10 feet. Okay, it puts it up in the roof. Then we'll trim to roof and trim, and one more wall, and we should have this. So as I select this wall, back to wall settings, we'll change the elevation to 30 feet and trim to roof. And it's done. So if we do want to modify any of those roof sections, we can modify those roof sections. I'm going to come back in just a moment and show you how to do an L-shaped house with multiple gables. So you should have had an opportunity to go ahead and build a roof and a gable roof and practice those skills. Now it gets just a bit more interesting when we go to put like a dormer or a second gable to the front of the house. So basically what we're going to do, I've added this wall section here, and we are going to go ahead and pull this out 16 inches again to maintain a consistent overhang. And I'll go ahead and put that second mark in, 16 inches. And at this point now I can take and go ahead and close this, and then I can pick these individual pieces and get rid of them. So what we're going to need to do now is to pick up and draw again and close this up. And it's on 90 degrees, so I can close that. And then I will need to make the ridge. And so if I hover over this, it gives me my center point, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this all the way up. Now, the fun part is to bring this, and let's assume we're going to go ahead and have the same type and of roof, and we need to install the valley. And so what I've done right here is to go ahead and set this line at 45 degrees, and you can see how it did snap to 45 degrees. So what we're going to do then is we're going to have a roof plane on this side and a roof plane on this side. And so let's take a look at this in our 3D mode, and you can see what we're dealing with. We're going to have to go ahead and build that roof over the top of this particular shape. And most of the time this is kind of a situation that you find yourself in where you'll have to come up with a gable, and it will have to span and cover these not rectangular shapes. So let me go back to F2 and let's go ahead and do this. Now the first thing to do, let's go ahead and build this back roof section. And so we'll go ahead and click on this roof, and this roof is set at 9 feet. We want to be at 8 feet. And so at this point what it's going to do is it's saying to enter first node of pivot line. Like I said, let's put this back plane on first, and we're going to angle up toward the ridge and then trace the section. So that is one section. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now we have this section properly built, and I will go ahead and let me escape that, and we'll go back to F2, and let's go ahead and now let's build this section. And so what I'm going to do again, we'll go ahead and just click this build roof tool, and we're still going to pivot across this entire front section. We do want that to come back to the ridge, but here's where it gets fun. What we need to do is to trace the actual perimeter. So do you see how it changes? Where it comes down those valleys, back up the gable, and to close it. And so I'll hit F3 here. And so now you can see how this section looks. And so we'll need to build this final section. So back to our two-dimensional, and it says here that we need to enter the first node. So now this plane is going to go in this direction toward the ridge, and I'll outline the perimeter of the piece that we need. That's one roof section. Let's see that in 3D. There's the panel we're looking at. And back to two-dimensional, and we will go ahead and enter the pivot line, move toward the ridge, and trace the roof section that we need. And we should be done at that point, and we are. And so then you can complete the exercise by increasing the wall section to maybe 30 feet. I just kind of like to blow on past it in terms of elevation, and then we can go ahead and trim to roof and trim. So I hope that you find that useful and helpful. That's the basic functionality of the gable roof and the hip roof. Good luck with your drawings.